Hello, Fietzek here. I'm the Senior Director of Technology at Electrify America and also a board member of CharIN US. I want to give you a presentation about how CharIN can be the foundation for an electrified future. So I will walk you through what is CharIN about the charging station and the charging technology in the market, also what's coming up next, and plug-in charge in particular at the end. So what is CharIN about? CharIN is supporting CO2 neutral energy creation and an ecosystem. So while we are doing a lot of work around the globe in helping to create CO2 neutral energy, CharIN is focusing on how to get it into the vehicles and to the customers using the CCS Standard. So CharIN is providing the link between the energy generation and an electrified future with more and more EVs coming into the market. With that, we are seeing today a forecast of about 26 million electric vehicles by 2030 global. And CharIN is helping and is supporting the rollout of all of these vehicles and hopefully powering all of these vehicles CO2 neutral. So how is CharIN achieving that? CharIN is developing and establishing the CCS Standard, the combined charging system. With the combined charging system, we are trying to have an aligned charging system across the globe. So only one plug for every use case you have. So you have the same one for AC charging, for DC charging. You have it wherever on the road you go. So just one aligned charging system. So how are we doing that? So CharIN is helping to expand a global reach of the charging network with integrating companies worldwide to promote the CCS Standard. CharIN is helping to draft and is also spearheading the draft of requirements. With the requirements draft, we are helping to create best practices and then guidelines to implement the CCS for new entries into the market, so companies coming in onto the market and implementing CCS the first time. Also then defining a certification system for CCS. With the certification system, we are helping to certify the implementation, also the communication, to make sure that interoperability is given and the customer has the best experience without any gaps and any issues. Also for the future, CharIN is working with the industry on MCS, which is a mega charging system. With the mega charging system, it supports commercial vehicle applications, which are going much higher than the current power levels of the CCS Standard. So how is CharIN doing that? CharIN is promoting the standard today with the CharIN Tuesdays. The CharIN Tuesdays are globally held web events where people can dial in. Industry colleagues are sharing their experience with the CCS Standard, with implementation of the CCS Standard, with the status of the infrastructure. And these are a handful of seminars and meetings which are reoccurring every Tuesday. Also participating in the EDTA Leader Series, like today, where CharIN is helping bringing together the industry leaders in supporting an electrified future based on the CCS Standard. How is this done? First, identifying the key players along the charging value chain. Also setting up conferences, meetings, and offices around the world with representations in Asia, Europe, and also in North America. And then, as I mentioned already, publishing white papers and guidelines to help further in implementation of the standard. So who are the companies who are supporting CharIN today, or who are supporting the CharIN mission with CO2 neutral electricity support, and also a unified standard across the world. We have right now 8 grid operators joining. We have 55 EVSE manufacturers, AC and DC charging and wireless charging being part of CharIN. Also the CPOs, the charge point operators who are running all of these chargers across the globe. The EMSPs, the electric mobility service provider, with 21 across the world, with which are supporting the CPOs, so the chargers, to the OEMs, to the vehicles and the vehicle customers. 38 OEMs, so vehicle car companies, which are building the electric cars, as well as 42 plug, cable, and sub-suppliers, as well as 35 testing and standards organizations, which are helping to build the ecosystem and to the standards. Overall, that brings the CharIN membership to over 200, with 202, where we have 126 registered in Europe, 43 registered in Australia and Asia, and then 33 in North America. So all of these manufacturers and all of these applications and use cases are across the board, starting from applications like the motorcycle, which we see on top, the customer cars, which we see in the middle, even the high performance cars, and as well the heavy duty segment with, for example, here the Daimler truck. So what are the key factors, and how is this all coming together? So CCS is combining an AC and DC charging inlet. So you have one inlet on your vehicle, and you can plug in the AC charger or the DC charger for whatever use case you want to use as a customer. Only one communication module for both of these use cases, as well as supporting up to 1,000 volts and 500 amps, which brings it up to 450 kilowatts of charging power, which can be dispensed through a CCS charger. All of that is pulled together with an interoperable charging system and protocol, which is brought together by CharIN. So CharIN is supporting the interoperability with test systems, with test symposiums, and this all is based on power line communication, which is one communication for all use cases. Also, after implementing that and doing the interoperability test, CharIN is providing a certified system and also a certified payment and accounting system for all of the applications. This is all based on state-of-the-art communication based on HomePlug ReInFi, which supports all use cases up to vehicle to home and also vehicle to grid. These use cases and these standards implemented are supporting the daily electric vehicle life all over the globe. So it starts from a home implementation, where we know already that still about 80% of charging is done at home with a home wallbox. You still use the same inlet in your vehicle, the CCS inlet, where you can plug your J7072 connector in the US and your European Type 2 connector in as well. Then it supports the metro and highway charging with about 50 kilowatts, where you see medium dwelling, where you stay at a supermarket or get a coffee. And then also it supports long distance travel with up to 350 kilowatts. So with that, you really increase how much charging you can receive in a short period of time. So with the 50 kilowatt charging at metros, you see about 100 kilometers charged in your vehicle, about 60 miles. With the 150, you get in 10 minutes the 60 miles charge. And with the 350 kilowatts which you have on highways, you can even achieve 4 minutes for the 60 miles. This brings you much closer to all of the ICE fueling processes which you're seeing today, and also it supports an electrified future for all of the vehicles. So where do we see this kind of infrastructure? Well, you can see on the map here that the CCS 1 and CCS 2 standards are nearly all of the EV markets across the globe. The CCS 1 in North America and in Korea. You see CCS 2 in South America. You see it in Europe, all across Europe. You see it also in Australia and some other Asian and Australian continental countries there. And then you still have alternative charging standards there with the CharIN, which is heavily focused on Japan and still in the US for the legacy cars and also in Europe for the legacy cars, and the GBD standard, which is a proprietary standard for China. But you see that shifting more and more through CCS. What you also see with the latest Nissan announcement, where Nissan announced that their future electric cars are not supporting CharIN anymore, but they are moving to CCS for the high power capabilities and also all of the other advanced functionalities. So what does it mean for the US? You see globally right now about 21,000 charging spots which are supporting CCS, and above 3,000 of them are deployed in North America. With that, you have three main players out of the CharIN members which are installing all of these charging spots. You have Electrify America with a high power charging focus across a lot of the metros in the US and all of the highway charging, even to cross-country routes from the east to the west coast, and expanding more and more year after year. Then you have ChargePoint with an AC charging focus also across the US and also across Europe, where they are supporting the CCS standard with their network. And then in the US as well, EVgo, which is heavily focused on DC charging in the metro areas in a 50 to 150 kilowatt range. So what's coming next? Why we see now the industry moving in high power charging with 150 and 350 kilowatt charging for a long highway travel. We are also seeing that the CCS standard is supporting automated wireless charging systems. So the same charging systems or the same charging protocols which you're using for the DC charging is used to communicate for wireless charging systems. Also, the current DC charging communication standards are extended to support the automated conductive charging system to help connecting robots easily to the vehicle. Also, the plug-in charge rollout, which we are in right now, with a focus on Europe with Ionity and in the US with Electrify America, bringing it to the market this year with some of the vehicle manufacturers. This is the latest improvement on the CCS charging standard. And then looking forward into the future, it's the megawatt charging system, which is supporting heavy duty trucks and buses, which goes up to even 3 megawatts of charging. So this goes higher than the 1,000 volt and 500 amp, which the DC CCS charging is supporting today. Also, as a next step, V2G, vehicle to grid applications are more and more in focus for the CCS standard and the CCS standard rollout. It simplifies the payment and billing with plug and charge, It supports additional EV customer services with fleet charging, and it also supports the DC and AC charging control to support the power grid. Also, as mentioned before, the wireless charging controls are supported by CCS, and also the pantograph charging for buses is using the same protocol. And all of this is supporting to optimize the grid management and also reverse energy flow. So instead of just taking energy from the grid, it also enables giving energy back to the grid or also to the home. So what about plug-in charging, today's implementation? So plug-in charge, as I mentioned, is rolled out into the field right now by Electrify America, Ionity, and others, and will be in the market end of this year. It helps the drivers to have a more enhanced experience. It helps the drivers to have flawless and seamless implementation. So the driver plugs in and can walk away. The driver does not need to care, can I charge here? Which credit card do I have to use? Which RFID card do I have to use? What is the price here? This is all pre-negotiated and will be then communicated between the vehicle, the CPO, and the EMSP. So the vehicle talks to the charger talks to the back end, and helps to connect the car without the driver having to do anything. This also helps the economics because it supports or it reduces the cost for the implementation, and it also reduces the cost for the operation. You don't have to send out RFID cards. You don't have to support multiple implementations. Also, technically, it helps all of the implementation partners from the vehicle manufacturers to the charger manufacturers and the backend manufacturers, because it is one implementation across all use cases, which has to be done right, and then it can be reused and added more functionality to it. Also operationally, since this is all handled in the backend and handled automatically, there is no need for a big staff on that. All of that can be managed by the ecosystem, by the network providers, without manual work on that side. Also, it's the foundation for innovation, because based on the implementation of the plug-in charge, it is enabling not just the plug-in of a customer and walking away, but also additional services like the grid services, communicating to the power grid how much the vehicle wants to use, and aggregated this all together, informing the power grid about future energy use from the grid, as well as supporting additional use cases from the backend, from the OEM to the vehicle, with value-added service and connectivity for over-the-air updates and other features. So all of that is done based on the CCS protocol using ISO 15118, based on the current rollout of plug-in charge, which is happening into the market as of today. So all of that brings me to the conclusion of my presentation today. So we are seeing that the implementation of the CCS protocol with the support of the CharIN organization globally is moving forward. We see with over 21,000 CCS chargers across the world and over 3,000 across the US that the foundation is there for all of these additional features. When you then overlay in the US the plug-in charge feature across the over 2,000 high-power chargers for Electrify America, then you're building the foundation for an electrified future. This is supporting an easy transition for customers into an electric car in the current implementation and in the current state. And with all of the subsidies and the support from the different governments across the world, this helps to move us forward in sustainable future. All of the different over 200 members which CharIN has today, step by step, the rollout of the standards, the improvements of the standards, the add-on of additional use cases is moved forward in today's world, and also in today's time with the rollout of the current infrastructure. So therefore, thank you for listening to me, and I hope it was an interesting presentation and helps you also create the foundation for the panels which are following now, which is talking with a broader variety about the infrastructure into the market. So thanks for listening, and I hope it's next time in person in the US. Thank you.